Hi, folks. Tim Sundles here. We haven't done a live video in some time, so we decided that, the political stuff that's actually probably more important than guns and hunting and outdoor gear and everything we talk about, the political stuff is actually probably more important um, because it affects every angle of your life. It affects your freedoms. It affects everything. Um, so we're filming from Africa. I want to tell you a story, actually two stories that will blow your mind. But first, this is what I'm going to expose here is so oops, there I go, so stupid that it's hard not to cuss. And, I can't cuss because it affects our monetization. And my wife is always after me to tell these stories, and it's just like the Hornaday story I told. It wasn't a live video, but these stories I'm hesitant to tell some of them. She wanted me also to tell the Alaska State Trooper story. Um, which I caved and did. I'm glad I did. I'm glad I've told all the stories she's wanted me to. So uh, today we're going to pick on the states of Idaho and Wyoming with true stories. Now, when you're a business owner like I am, and you are always doing things, you're exposed to a lot more than the average person, let's say, that just works a normal job and lives a normal life. Our lives are very abnormal, and I'm aware of this. Um, so let's go back to about 2005, 2006. Uh, my then wife was allergic to sagebrush, and living in Salmon, Idaho was just killing her, literally. She was getting sicker and sicker by the year. So we looked all over the Rockies for a place to go where I could still shoot out my door, hunt, hike, fish, right close to home. And but there was no sagebrush. Well, if you know the Rocky Mountains, there's sagebrush everywhere. We found an area that was just moist enough, just enough rainfall to keep sagebrush from growing, because sagebrush is a more or less a desert plant. Um, and it was in western Montana, actually on the Flathead Reservation. We lived on a nice piece of ground outside St. Ignatius, Montana. And when I was trying to move the company there and move our family there, I was going through multiple battles in my life. I mean, we had a house full of teenagers. I mean, most of them actually, I guess, had grown up and moved out, but I was still dealing with two of them. And, moving a company and all the downtime and all the expense. And my marriage was just really on shaky ground, and it had been for several years and remained so for a few more years before I finally just got out of it, which I was hesitant to do because we had created four children together, and that's not the kind of thing that I take lightly when it comes to ending a marriage. Anyway, so we moved like in June of the year, about mid-year. And when my accountant did the taxes, he was part of the year Idaho, part of the year Montana. And I was busy, and I just pretty much ignored it and went ahead and filed for Montana. Didn't file, or maybe I did file. I think I did file for Idaho, but I didn't pay it. I just was busy and forgot. Now, that year in Idaho, because it was a partial year, I only owed 70 something dollars in taxes to the state of Idaho. And frankly, I don't believe I owe any of it. It's just the stupid law. And the law's illegal. It's mostly unconstitutional. But anyway, so um, I I I didn't pay it. I didn't even think to pay it. So a year goes by. Now, you're just not going to believe this. A year goes by, and I get a knock on my door up in St. Ignatius, Montana. You know how far that is from Boise, Idaho? That is, I don't know, 12, 13-hour drive. Um, and it's a tax collector dude from Boise, Idaho. And he goes, I know you moved and everything. And he goes, but you didn't pay this $70 you owed for last year in Idaho before you moved. And I'm so astonished. I said, so where are you from? He goes, from Boise. And I said, so you drove up here from Boise to collect $70? He goes, yes, sir, I did. And I was so astounded and dumbfounded. I said, well, wait a minute. That means you had to stay at a motel at least once, if not twice. That means you burned 2 or 3 tanks of gas. He was driving a little economy car. Thank goodness it wasn't a 1-ton Ford truck or something. Um, and I said to him, I said, so, wear and tear, all the miles on that truck, uh, all the meals, your salary you're getting paid. You drove all the way up here to collect $70. He goes, yes, sir, you owe it. And I said, oh my gosh, if these are the kind of morons that are running the tax collecting in Idaho, I mean, if you consider wear and tear, gas, motels, everything, you just spent well over $1,000, well over, maybe 2,000 if you include his salary and everything else to collect $70. He said, well, that's not the point. You owe it. And at that point, I was so dumbfounded. I just said, get the off my porch before I kick your ass and you never walk right again. Just get off my porch. Get out of here. You're trespassing. And I booted him off the property. I never did pay it. I just thought, this one is so stupid that I will just not pay it and see where it goes. I've never heard from the state of Idaho again about it. I know it's in their records because I had a discussion about that very thing with a state employee tax collector in Idaho that they're going to audit me when I get home from Africa. And I told her that story about how stupid Idaho is and how overly aggressive Idaho is when it comes to collecting taxes. And she said, well, yeah, I actually see that here in your records. You threatened this guy. I said, the guy is so dumb and you people are so dumb. I probably wasted my breath on the threat. But you guys are out of control. Just out of control. I mean, really? So, anyway, another story. As many of you know, my wife is a retired district attorney from the state of Wyoming, elected district attorney. And when she retired, it was towards the end of her term. She hadn't finished her term, but we had gotten engaged and she wanted to move in with me in Idaho. So she tendered her resignation. And the state of Wyoming forgot to take her off the Attorney General's uh, email list. It's their mistake. And I got on her computer one day. My wife had nothing to do with this. This was my doing. And she's told me, don't tell that story. I could lose my bar license. But she had nothing to do with it. It was me. I got on her computer looking for an email, and I see this email from the Wyoming uh, state attorney general's office. And I think at the time the attorney general was a lady. That's how I recall it. And I'm going back into the early days of COVID. And here's the white. Now, keep in mind, both Idaho and Wyoming are considered conservative states. And if our conservative states have come under such influence from the feds and are doing liberal and illegal things, we're in deep, deep trouble as a nation. So this email from the state attorney general to my wife, and it was their fault for not taking her off the list. She had resigned. Basically said, as your attorney general, and it was an email to all the district attorneys in the state, every county has their own district attorney. It said, this COVID stuff, you're going to have to force people to wear masks or have them arrested. And several of the district attorneys were responding. I could read the whole correspondence. And they said, well, that's not legal. We can't force people to wear a mask. It's just not legal. It violates state constitution, violates federal constitution. It's basically completely wrong. We weren't elected to violate laws. We're elected to uphold laws. And the state attorney general, in so many words, basically advised you're going to have to fake it. You're going to have to scare people into wearing masks. And I showed the emails to my wife, and she just shook her head. She couldn't believe that the federal corruption regarding COVID was reaching down into all the states, especially Wyoming. It's one of our very most conservative of the 50 states. And here you've got your attorney general, in order to save her job and keep her job, scaring the crap out of the district attorneys and telling them to lie to their electorate, lie to the people that put you in office to serve them, make them think they have to wear a mask. I mean, the Idaho tax collection thing was just sheer stupidity. I mean, just dumb. But this is massive corruption coming from the Wyoming State Attorney General's office. So now let's bounce back to Idaho. At the time all that was happening in Wyoming, it was happening in Idaho too. Idaho has one big grocery store. The town of Salmon, where I live, has one big town grocery store. And I go to, I don't know, I probably went to get some deli food or something. I do that often when my wife is out of town. I'll just go to the deli. It's 40-mile drive. It kind of makes for expensive deli food, but I do it because I don't like to cook sometimes. Anyway, and here's this huge sign right in front of the entry door to the grocery store. And it says, the Idaho State Surgeon General has determined that you have to wear masks when you're in public. And he's making it the law. Okay, you can't, that's not the lawmaking process. Laws have to go through the Senate, be signed off by the governor. Same with federal laws. They got to go through the Senate, be signed off and approved by the president. So I'm standing there reading the sign, and guess who walks up? The county sheriff at the time. His name is Steve. He's no longer county sheriff. He didn't run in the last election. He retired. He walks up and he's looking at the sign. He says, "What are you doing, Tim?" I said, I'm just reading this sign." I said, "This crap isn't legal, and I don't own a mask, and I'm certainly not going to go get one before I go in the grocery store." And so he looks at the sign. He goes, "Well, I don't have a mask either." And he goes, "Well, I don't care." So he just takes off walking into the store. So I just went in right behind him, figured whatever. But when your government creates an emergency and then declares, and COVID was created by our government, our federal government, when they create such an emergency and then use the emergency to usurp your federally protected rights, your constitutionally protected rights from government overreach, they this is all illegal. Our government is so corrupt. And I'm going to say it again. Thank God for Donald J. Trump. And actually, I'm thankful for their whole family. They have sacrificed immensely to turn this monstrous wreck of government around. Now, these are just a couple examples of what is wrong with government. And unfortunately, as much as I don't want to be involved in government, and most of you don't either, um, and neither does Donald J. Trump, by the way. He's a billionaire who should be out golfing. He loves to golf on one of his Caribbean golf courses. But instead, he's sacrificing the last years of his life and his comfort and his family's well being to turn this wreck around. And, they're going to keep trying to assassinate him. I'm sure they are, because he's upsetting the world power structure um, by eliminating the corruption. And thank God for him and his efforts and his family. Now, having said all that, I'm going to end this video, and it is just food for thought. I have a lot more videos about Forest Service corruption and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service corruption and the misuse of the Endangered Species Act. I've got more to talk about regarding those things in the future. Um, I'm reading the live comments, but did you take the magic potion? Are you kidding me? No. Why, when they're trying to push a vaccination that's brand new and brand new technology, why would I risk my health and take that? Now, I have many friends that did. Not all of them have been negatively impacted by the COVID vax, but some of them have been hugely impacted by it, young and old. I mean, we're talking about embolisms in their lungs, blood clots. We're talking about heart issues. Oh, so folks, we have to get involved in politics as much as we don't want to. Um, I, you guys are crazy. You guys that are tuning in are great. Um, folks, Kim and I love you guys, and we love humanity. It's too bad humanity is so here again. I got to avoid a cuss word. Too bad humanity is so screwed up. Um, Hopefully, we can all become a little more active in what our government, even our local governments, are doing because it's horrendous, and we will lose our freedoms. We've lost most of our freedoms. This is not a free country, folks. Um, I'm not going to end yet. Let's talk about taxation in Idaho, a conservative state. I go down to the car dealership and I buy a $70,000 truck, which isn't hard to do these days. You can spend a lot more than that on a truck now. So I pay 4, 5, 6,000 in sales tax, depending on the cost of the truck. Then it's mandatory that I license and register it. So I pay that tax. Then it's mandatory that I get car insurance. Now, most folks aren't aware that there's hidden taxes in your insurance premiums. Oh, yeah. In some cases, federal and state taxes. So you get taxed by both the feds and the state, and they're mandating you have to have insurance. They're mandating it, yet it's got a hidden tax in it where they take your money. So then you go to the gas station to fill up your new truck and you fuel up. The last one I bought has a 50-gallon tank on it and fill it up, and you're paying 50 cents a gallon in excise tax. Oh my gosh, you people are great. Um, so So now you fill up your 50-gallon tank, and 50 cents of every gallon is excise tax, both federal and state. It's a hidden tax. They call it excise. You don't know you're paying it. So then you drive home, you park your new vehicle in your driveway, which you're paying property tax on. You set it up, you throw your one of your rifles and your ammo in. All my guns have several guns. You paid excise tax on the guns and the ammo. Now that's the industry I'm in. I know there's an 11% excise tax on all ammunition, all guns. It's hidden in the price of the gun, so you're not aware you're paying it. Then you drive your truck until you wear your tires out, or like I do on all my new trucks, I just go put new tires on them to get the tires that I want. And did you know there's a rubber tax on your tires? Federal, and in some states, federal and state tax on your tires. Folks, they are bleeding you dry and they don't give a rip. Not a rip. They don't care about you. They never had. And it's supposed to be a government of the people for the people. And one of the things that Kim and I are doing is we're moving our entire operation to Wyoming because there's no state income tax there. And Idaho is so aggressive that they've actually taken money out of my bank account because our taxes are very complex. And in 2021, we had a bad fire and it burned our barn and our supply. Part of our barn was actually had living quarters in it with satellite TV, the whole 9 yards, for guests to come stay at, usually my hunting buddies. And we had a massive fire and I didn't have it insured. It cost me over $1.5 million. So we had to redo our taxes for 2021. It took some time. Well, Idaho didn't want to wait for me to redo all that. They think I live just to do tax returns and do it at their behest when they say so, or there's penalties and interest. Idaho's horrible with their tax collection. They're very, very aggressive. And so I'm in Africa half the year. I had COVID twice. I had a lot of things stopping me from meeting with accountants, getting stuff done. So Idaho just went to my personal bank account that I share with my wife, and they just pulled $33,000 out of it. You know, we'll see if they put the money back in now that the belated taxes are filed, which shows I owe nothing. They won't. They won't. So anyway, folks, uh, love you guys. Hope you enjoy these videos. I mean, I have to laugh at them. It's better than crying, but there's really nothing funny about this. It's really pathetic. Um, here's a dumb question. Why are we paying illegal taxation? Well, it's actually a good question. I don't know if he's asking why it's illegal. If he is, it's a dumb question. When he asks why are we paying it, it's actually a valid question. Um, so here's one. I absolutely love the channel. By the way, you guys are an awesome team. Great stories. Thanks for sharing them. And you know, and thank you for the love in return. Uh, may God bless and please have a good day. We'll see you on the next video.